Here we are, back in the studio. With me is a very, very special guest. If you like to go out on the town, or out of town, maybe in New York, and search for some wild, good old kick
ass
music. Right on cue. Live music. There's no doubt you've heard and seen the extraordinary musical talent of Richie Scarlett. Well, Richie is with us tonight, all dressed to kill and ready to rock and roll with us, including the
usual street drag.
Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Button. Where did you get that?
Forget
anyway?
Batman. This is the real hero.
And your other hero.
That's
Jerry
my other
Lewis,
alter ego. It's the Nutty Professor, 1963.
You're down at East Coast Music Mall, aren't you? That just opened up.
Yes, I'm a silent partner there.
Silent partner?
Yeah, I've been involved with that for a number of years now, and it's grown to be this incredibly big thing. It's so big they had to call it a mall. So, there you go.
Okay. You're very much into blues guitar.
Very much so.
And keeping it going, keeping it alive, aren't you?
Well, I feel it's important for me. I've always been influenced by the blues, and to me today, with the new breed of guitar players, they don't seem to have a blues feel. They're too busy just hammering on and playing scales and playing more from their mind, where when you're a blues player, you play more from your heart. And it's a lost art, I think, but it's something that I've always been a part of, and I want to try to definitely keep that going, and I try to keep that in my style, and when I do teach, I try to convey that to my students, because that's the root of all rock, is the blues.
Are there any particular blues artists or bands that have influenced the way you play? Maybe George Thorogood or
I dig
something?
Deeper, more into people like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and then the people that are still surviving today, people like Johnny Winter, still to me one of the finest blues players. Stevie Ray Vaughan's keeping that tradition alive. So when you're a blues player, you can get away with playing until you're 70, 80. Blues players play till they die. So, which is my intention.
Good. Now, you mentioned just a second ago you teach?
Yes, I do. I teach occasionally, whenever my rent is due. I've taught on and off at East Coast, and it's actually inspired me, because to see students, some of my students today, they're burning. And so I feel like, I conveyed something to somebody else, which is, it makes it all worthwhile.
So if somebody wants to take a few lessons from you, how do they go about it? They contact the Music Mall or East Coast Sound?
East Coast Music Mall, and actually I won't be around too much longer, but I'm sure I'll be back.
Oh, you're not going to croak on us, are you?
No, I'll just be leaving town for a while. I see I got a prison sentence, and I'm leaving on tour. So the tour I'll be leaving out should be starting in the middle of February, so I'll be out of town, but I can be reached through there. Yeah, and there's also great other teachers there, just so it's a good mecca for that.
Aside from playing, you've been producing music for other bands as well.
Producing something that I love to do is when I'm not busy doing my own stuff. I like to. I just love being in the studio, and one of the things I just recently produced that I'm probably the most proud of is a band called the Chesterfield Kings, and they've been written up in Rolling Stone as America's most wildest band that's yet to be really discovered. The lead singer, Greg Prevost, probably has more charisma in his little finger than most singers have, and, 5 singers have put together, and that record should be out February 1st of this year, 1990. And I'm also producing, by far, Danbury's greatest singer. His name's Doug Palmer, and he's an up-and-coming singer.
Oh, he's been on, yeah.
He's phenomenal, and right now I'm working on his record, and so I figured I'd give him a plug since he is a Danbury resident, but he really is good. And I recently did a guy named Tony Genesi's record, which was voted the best independent album in the tri-state area for 1989, which was a nice reward for the both of us.
Does he have a new album coming out?
He's got a new one coming out, which I'm also working with, though I'm not involved in production and I'm just playing on this. I've also produced a lot of independent singles for groups. One of them is Dino Fregosi, the Mad Dog, they call him, and as well as a few bands from England.
Does he foam at the mouth or something? Or
He's like a mad dog. He breaks out of a cage. And anybody who's seen him, people know about him in this area for sure. You see Dino once, you can't forget him. So, but currently I am doing Doug Palmer's new record, and like I said, the Chesterfield Kings will be out February 1st. So definitely look for that. Band is fantastic, so look for them.
What makes the Chesterfield Kings so wild?
What makes them so great is...
Anything they do on stage, or it's all in their music?
Well, their music is real wild, it's aggressive and rude, and basically it's the attitude that they convey that makes it real rock and roll, which is what it's all about. That's what rock and roll is all about. You have to have an attitude, and if you don't, no matter how good you can play, if you don't have that attitude, to me it's not rock and roll. It's just, you're a poser.
It's only rock and roll, but you like it.
Yeah. It's only rock and roll, but I have no choice. It's been in my blood ever since I've been born. So it's my way of conveying what I have to say while I'm here on Earth. Fortunately, God gave me the gift to be able to say it. So I'm saying it, and I feel good about it.
Shout it out loud.
Yeah.
All right. You know what we're gonna do right now? We're gonna take a look at some of the bands that were just mentioned that Richie is involved with. Chesterfield Kings.
I think you have Tony Genesi maybe, or Doug Palmer, I believe.
Doug Palmer, some Tony Genesi, little Dino Fregosi. You at the Limelight in New York City, which was a fantastic show.
Oh yeah, that was a great night. That was the Chesterfield Kings' debut back in New York. They're from Rochester. So, and they have a big following in New York, and they hadn't been there since they... you see, the Chesterfield Kings were a 60s garage punk type band, basically from the year 66, and they went through a radical metamorphosis change, and that's when I stepped in, and that was their first show in New York with the whole new image and lineup, so it was a great night. It's a great place.
Okay, sounds great. Why don't we take a look at these fantastic bands? We'll come back in the studio with more Richie.
All right.
Boy, come on, girl. welcome right now, Mad Dog with Dino Fergese.
All right, there you have it. Some fantastic rock and roll. A lot of it produced by Richie Scarlett, who I'm back in the studio with. Some other exciting names you are going to be producing in the near future, such as you're going to be working with Peter Criss.
Hopefully, yes.
Former drummer of Kiss.
I won't be producing him. No. I'm just. I was fortunate enough to be asked to play on his next record, which will be a big comeback album for him. He's been out of the public eye for a while, so hopefully that's. Let's see. I'm leaving for LA in 2 weeks, so I'll have that patched up. Hopefully within the next month or so, we'll start that project, and I'm really looking forward to it because I love working with him. I had a chance to work with him last summer on Ace's record, and we got to hang out, and he's a great guy. So that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Of course, speaking of Peter Criss and Kiss, I wonder what I'm going to ask next.
The Ace of Spades.
The Ace of Spades. You've hooked up with Ace Frehley.
Yes.
You're one of his new guitar players. How did all that happen?
Well, I was originally with Ace. Originally, when he first left Kiss, I was in his original band. I did the first tour that he did.
Now, is this band he has now, is this the Comet as well, or is this totally different, totally new band?
It's a totally new band, except for the bass player, John Regan, who's been with Ace since the very beginning. I originally was in the original Frehley's Comet in '86, and then we parted ways, and now I'm back with him. So. And we just completed a kick. You could say
ass. Kick ass.
A definite kick-ass album entitled Trouble Walking, which was a definite high point of my career so far, working with the legendary Eddie Kramer, who produced Jimi Hendrix and engineered Led Zeppelin and Kiss. So that was a thrill working with Eddie, and then of course we had the boys from Skid Row came down, did backup vocals, and working again with Anton Fig, who to me is one of the best drummers in the business, Letterman's drummer.
Sounds Letterman, right? Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So to work with this caliber of people, for me, that was an extra thrill. And the critics seem to like the record. Not that I care whether they like it or not. It's the kids that gotta like it. We've been getting a real good buzz back from the streets on the record, and it's happening. It's definitely the best record he's ever done, I'd have to say.
He said that himself, yeah, at the East Coast Music Mall when he was on.
Well, it's back. He went back to what he does best, which is just real good hard rock, crunch rock and roll, and kind of threw out a lot of the keyboard and ballads and background singers and stuff, which that's not Ace, and that's really his fans don't. He threw a curve at him, I think, on the last album. This album he's back to where he should be, right there, kicking, playing.
Kicking ass. Currently, I guess the song we're hearing the most on the radio right now is Do Ya.
Right.
Which is an old Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah, that was something that was brought to us by the bass player, John. Ace and I really had our doubts on that song. As it turns out.
Oh, wow, you handled it so well.
Ace did a fantastic vocal on it. It came out real well, which we didn't really expect. We wanted to do a Stones cover, but since the Stones had toured in '89, our record company, Atlantic Records, pushed us away from the idea, and we're happy with Do Ya. Do Ya was done just to really get a little commercial break on the album to open the rest of the album, which is much heavier and much more straightforward rock. On Do Ya, I did all the slide work and background vocals, and even the singer from a band called the Blues Magoos, who had a big hit in the '60s.
You're kidding me. We ain't got nothing yet?
That's right. He did the background vocals with us on that track, Peppy. So even meeting that guy was great. So
I don't know why I haven't gotten that album yet. It sounds great.
You don't have the album.
I know. The flowers are already dead. Look at these. Dead flowers on the set.
But, Trouble Walking, it's not that we're looking for trouble, it's just that
he just has trouble walking. I think it's that. You got to help him with that cough. It's just that
trouble's looking for us. Trouble's looking for us.
He's got to do something about that cough or that chest cold.
Yeah, he's got some remedies for that. He sips just hot tea and drinks warm milk at night, and he's fine.
Just what the doctor ordered. Do you sing any songs on the new album?
Yes, I do. I sing a song called Too Young to Die, which was also helped by Skid Row. They did the backups for me on that. And I do all the the rest of the songs I do background vocals. When we do the tour, I'll be singing a lot more of other material as well as stuff from his earlier records that I originally sang when I was with him in '86. So one of the songs is called Breakout, which appeared on his first Frehley's Comet album, which was one I co-wrote with him. So as it turns out, I actually sang three tracks in a record, and then the record company decided to make it an Ace Frehley solo record. So the other two that I sang, ended up on the floor. But I'm sure they'll surface.
You were recently in New York at around Christmas time, and I heard something about a Christmas song that you were involved with some other well-known musicians, and it was a benefit to raise money for the Hudson Valley Kids.
Yes.
For PDH Radio.
PDH played the track, and it was a project. It was kind of like a We Are the World type project, and it involved a lot of great people in the business. Darlene Love did some vocals. Joe Bouchard from the Voice to Cold, Eric Carl on drums. Probably the biggest of the names was Daryl Hall. Did a couple of verses of it, and I got to play the lead guitar. And as well as so many other people. I can't even remember who was on it else. But fortunately, it did real good, and I raised money. It was for they raised money for food. Actually, it was a hunger project. So there again, it was exciting to work with a caliber of that kind of musicianship.
You've been writing for a big deal amount of time, about 10 years?
Yeah.
Now, I think 10 years ago, all I could think about is disco. Trash. Was it hard back
Well, I'm the
then?
guy that wrote the soundtrack for Saturday Night Fever. Didn't you know that?
I don't do that for a minute.
10 years ago was a real tough time.
I mean, to keep rock and roll alive,
keep it alive.
With all that going on?
Absolutely.
What was that like?
Well, actually, for me as a songwriter, 10 years ago, there was so much going on, new wave, punk, pop, that my songwriting at that moment was a fusion of all those elements. I was dipping back into a 60s thing almost. Since then, it's evolved into other things. It's right now, since obviously being with Ace, I'm writing a lot heavier. It was a very fun time because of the fact that we were fighting disco, and there was all these new fashions and trends happening. Sex Pistols and bands like that made it very exciting. So, and I've just continued to grow as a songwriter.
Doesn't disco suck? I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I'm rock and roll myself. I just...
Yeah, I don't see any gold chains on you or anything.
Nah, just, well, it's not going to know what this is made out of. It's certainly not diamonds.
I wasn't never too much of a
anything
disco
for
fan.
it.
I must say the disco duck just didn't do it for me.
Oh, God.
But as a songwriter, though, I try to not stick into one subject. I definitely try to move around. If I'm playing piano, I end up writing, dull ballads. But if I'm playing guitar, then I try to put some kind of energy into that. It depends on what I'm writing on. But as a songwriter, you should never limit yourself, except for disco. Definitely leave that. But never limit yourself in anything you do. Absorb all kinds of styles from all different eras of rock and pop and every kind of music that's come down the pike. That's basically what I am. I'm a mutt of everything that's come down the pike in the last 30 years of rock. I'm a little piece of Eddie Cochran in me, Gene Vincent. I have people in my soul, just like, Hendrix. People that have inspired me end up coming out of a pen somewhere along the line, onto paper, onto tape, into people's ears.
Something tells me you have a lot of Keith Richards in you.
Keith Richards now.
And we're going to do a little lip sync for us someday.
Keith Richards, he plays for who? Is it ACDC? I've always been a big Stones fan, obviously. I don't play guitar so much like Keith, but, no matter what I do, I've been told since I was 11 that I resemble Keith Richards.
Since you were 11?
Yeah. My face, just pulled it into I always loved the Stones. To me, Keith Richards is one of the last heroes we have left, I feel. He's a zillionaire, but he's always kept some kind of street attitude somehow, and he's projected it in a real way. So I'm real happy for the Stones, too, because I think this last tour They showed everybody exactly where it's at. Everybody ever told them they were washed up. They just...
Yeah, it was good to see the Stones come back and the Who, and because to me that's...
It's only good when they do come back out and pull it off.
Yeah.
If they come out and it's not up to what you expect, a lot of times it's better that they should have never done it, and they would have remained more of a legend. But in the Stones' case, they've never went away, really. And another band that's been around, the Kinks, that never seem to get the...
New album out.
You know, the
It's
band's been around
fantastic.
as long as the Stones, but most people don't realize that. But I admire people that have gone that long and can still put out something that's creative and worth listening to.
I mean, people might call them dinosaurs, but those are the bands. That is where rock and roll is at. And once they do stop,
yeah, then it's
I don't know what's going to happen.
You lose a big
because
part.
There's some good new rock out there, but I don't know. I don't look to Guns N' Roses for the future. You know, lasting 20 years.
No, absolutely
You know,
not.
I don't know if there's any. Do you see any new rock bands that are around now that could
Well, one of the
have
new
a reunion
bands-
20 years from now?
20 years from now, no.
You too?
It's almost impossible for a band to last these days. In the 60s, when bands like the Stones were formed, it was a counterculture. It was a reform of rebellion. It was a statement. Unfortunately, today, it's really it's corporate, and everything that was counterculture has become culture. So bands like Guns N' Roses, though I like them, I can't see them lasting 20 years. It just doesn't seem to happen, that longevity anymore. But new bands that I like, and I don't like a hell of a lot, I would say I love The Cult. You know, I think Sonic Temple's a great album. You know, and there's some bands out there that are, as long as they're for real, you know, that support. You can tell bands
I don't want to see
that
a Wham reunion in like 10 years, you know.
but there's a purpose really for even bands like that. Somehow, there's a reason for all that stuff. I think, yeah. It's like there was always bad bands in music. In the British Invasion, there was tons of horrible bands that would just jump on the bandwagon. There's a good example. You know, all the way up to now. I think with the resurgence of heavy metal, it brought back guitar. There's a lot of great guitar playing out there today. What lacks is, I think, songwriting and a basic attitude that's for real, that's from the heart, that isn't put together by businessmen and they throw on their rock and roll clothes and go to MTV. Most of those bands are like that. There's some good stuff out there, definitely.
Tell me quickly about Fred Gwynne. Then we're going to get out of this.
Fred Gwynne, I had the chance to go to his house speaking 10 years ago. And he has an amazing house, and it was great. It wasn't like the Munsters Mockingbird Lane, but it's cool. And I got to meet, I actually ran into somebody at that house almost a decade ago who still today is a great friend of mine. And,
hello, Alan.
Hey, Alan. So, yeah, that was cool.
Now, do you know what show Fred Gwynne was involved in before the Munsters?
Of course I do. It was Car 54.
Put it there.
All right.
All right, yeah.
With Grandpa.
Al Lewis.
That was the Bronx back those days. It was safe then. Can you imagine, being a cop in the Bronx then, being like Tootie and Muldoon? Unbelievable. 100 people got stabbed. They didn't know.
Was there ever such a band as Eddie and the Munsters? Like I've heard rumors of over the...
Well, there actually was a record put out back then with the characters of the Munsters. A bunch of studio musicians used the name the Munsters. A few years back, I actually did a gig with Eddie from Eddie and the Munsters. He had a band called Eddie and the Monsters. They wouldn't let him use the Munsters. And he came out with the little wolf doll. And, true story. I played with him down in Philadelphia at a place called the Ripley on South Street, and he didn't look much different. He was just a little taller.
That's Butch Patrick, right?
Yeah. Today he sells that doll. That's what he does for a living, through the mail. He has his own business and he sells that wolf doll.
Wolf dolls?
It's like $45, and he gives you an autograph, and he makes a fortune. And yes,
wow.
I'm a horror movie buff, or also a TV trivia buff. Buff, what a dumb word. But Biff, buff. But yes.
I think we should mention, before we saw some of the bands, we should mention the great camera work on that.
Oh, Joanne. That's Joanne Casares. Definitely, she should be commended for the great work she's been doing, not only in the Danbury area, but all over the tri-state area, shooting bands. And she's a big part of this local scene and keeping the local original bands. It gives them something to look forward to. And I think it's great. I think you're doing a great job.
Otherwise known as Shooting Star Productions.
Shooting Star Productions.
Well, it was fun shooting this segment with this star tonight. We hope you...
It was a lot of fun. Definitely enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed it. Please catch us next time here on We All Shine On. Mike Miller, Richie Scarlett. Richie,
Pleasure.
thank you. Keep rock and roll.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.